No time to study English? Well, no worry, because we are covering each chapter in a session of 15 minutes. Welcome to Fit the Lit, where we fit literature to its rightful standard. Today's session is a part of series called Dhurandhar, especially made for class 12th CBSE students, where we are covering each chapter in under 15 minutes. Today's chapter in consideration is the Rattrap. इतना लेंदी चैप्टर है कि अगर आप पढ़ने बैठेंगे तो बहुत ज्यादा टाइम इन्वेस्ट करना पड़ेगा, बट आज 15 मिनट्स में वी आर गोइंग टू कवर द समरी along with the mind map and some ultra pro tips. ये वो एरियाज हैं जहां से सीबीएसई क्वेश्चन पूछता है. सो लेट अस स्टार्ट विद द सेशन विदाउट एनी फर्दर डिले. Let me give you a brief description of the chapter in the beginning. The Rattrap is a story written by Selma Lagerlof. So, the writer of this particular chapter is Selma Lagerlof. It is a moral and psychological story. Now, moral in the sense कि it is going to give you some moral lesson, and psychological in the sense कि थोड़ा सा philosophy के बारे में भी है chapter. The central idea: the world is like a rat trap and kindness can transform even a criminal. So these two are the central ideas. कि the world is like a rat trap. Rat trap is basically a rectangular kind of cage in which we put a bait and we try to catch rat inside it, है ना. तो rat trap को हिंदी में चूहेदानी या फिर चूहे का पिंजरा ऐसा भी कुछ कहते हैं, right? Kindness can transform even a criminal. So this is the second moral of the lesson कि if you show kindness to a criminal, then his or her heart can also undergo transformation. कि आप एक इंसान को एकदम ट्रांसफॉर्म कर सकते हैं through an act of kindness, right? So the context, the setting of the chapter is majorly in Sweden. It is set in rural Sweden, focuses on poverty, loneliness, and human greed, and ultimately gives us the message that compassion redeems and punishment does not. So, if you talk about the setting कि कहाँ पर exactly story हो रही है, कहाँ पे characters placed हैं, Sweden, rural Sweden, and that too, village life, right? Then it focuses on the theme of poverty, loneliness, and human greed. That how human beings are after money. Then ultimately it gives us the message that compassion can redeem. Redeem is कि किसी चीज को बचाना, right? Human redemption जिसे हम कहते हैं, किसी के soul को बचाना. So redeem. And punishment does not. So the chapter ultimately gives out the lesson that compassion is something that can redeem human beings. Okay, let us move with the summary. Let us begin with the summary straight away. The rat trap seller. We are introduced to the rat trap seller in the first part of the chapter. तो हमें कौन मिलता है? A poor peddler sells rat traps. He lives a lonely life, miserable life. He begs and steals to survive. He hates the world for treating him badly. We are introduced to this rat trap seller. तो ये जो rat trap seller है, ये क्या करता है? इसका मेजर काम क्या है? rat trap ये बनाता है, वो छोटे छोटे वो चूहे के पिंजरे, एंड वो बेचता है. But his income is not that enough, right? So in order to survive, he has to beg and he has to also steal sometimes, right? So ये तीनों चीजें एक्टिविटी करके he is able to survive. Now his life is really lonely. अकेला रहता है, there is no family, and he is leading a miserable life. बहुत ही खराब. Peddler means a person who does not have a permanent home, who moves from one place to another, right? So he is a peddler. So what are the three things that he does in order to survive? First of all, he sells the rat traps. Secondly, he is also involved in begging and stealing in order to survive. He hates the world for treating him badly. So we see that this rat trap seller does not have a very good life experience, right? He has been treated badly by almost all the other people around him. So he hates the world. Okay. Now this is your ultra pro tip number 1, जहां से क्वेश्चन आएंगे, right? द रैट ट्रैप फिलोसफी. मतलब ये चैप्टर एक ऐसा चैप्टर है जिसमें से कि रिपीटेडली इस फिलोसफी से क्वेश्चन पूछे गए हैं. दैट हाउ द वर्ल्ड इज कंसिडर्ड टू बी अ रैट ट्रैप और व्हाट इज द फिलोसफी ऑफ द रैट ट्रैप सेलर. कि कैसे वो वर्ल्ड को रैट ट्रैप की तरह ट्रीट करता है. So let us understand. The peddler believes the world is a big rat trap. So what does he believe? उसको ये लगता है that the world is in itself is a big rat trap. जैसे हम वो छोटे से rectangular cage में चूहे को पकड़ने की कोशिश करते हैं, right? Similarly, the world is also a huge rat trap जहाँ पे कि humans जो हैं वो पकड़े जाते हैं, right? The wealth, joy and the comforts are baits. Baits मतलब वो जो हम छोटे से रोटी की टुकड़ी लगाते हैं ना, या चीज लगाते हैं फॉर कैचिंग द माइस या माउस को कैच करने के लिए, वो बेट होती है, राइट? तो ये जो जितनी भी चीजें, जो भी हमें पॉजिटिव चीजें दी जाती है लाइफ में, जैसे कि वेल्थ, जॉय एंड कंफर्ट, ये सब क्या है? ये बेट्स हैं. तो पीपल टेक दीज बेट्स एंड दे एंटर द रैट ट्रैप. वंस ट्रैप्ड पीपल कैन नॉट एस्केप. तो ही सेज कि जितना भी ये पैसा है, राइट, वो क्या है? वो एक बेट है जो कि ह्यूमन बींग्स ले लेते हैं एंड देन दे गेट देमसेल्व्स कॉट इनसाइड दिस रैट ट्रैप, और वो इस रैट ट्रैप से कभी बाहर ही नहीं आ पाते, राइट? तो जैसे कि इफ यू हैव मनी, तो वो एक सफिशिएंट अमाउंट बेसिकली होगा, लेकिन उससे क्या होता है कि वी ऑलवेज ट्राई टू गो हायर, कि अगर हमारे पड़ोसी के पास सियाज है तो हमारे पास मर्सिडीज होनी चाहिए, हमारे पास मर्सिडीज है तो और एक हायर होनी चाहिए, दैट काइंड ऑफ अ रेस. तो एक वो क्या है? ये एक रैट रेस ही तो है. दिस इज ऑल अ रैट रेस देखा जाए तो अल्टीमेटली. दिस इज व्हाट ही सेज, दैट वी आर ऑल स्टक इन दिस रैट ट्रैप because we take the bait of wealth, of money, of luxury, of joy. So all these things are baits. The philosophy reflects bitterness and his life experience, his personal life experience. So as I said, उसका personal life experience कुछ ज़्यादा अच्छा है नहीं. He has had a very bad life experience. So एक तो bitterness भी दिखती है. Why? Because he is thinking negative. अब think, see, wealth can be a bait. We always try to go for a higher amount of luxury, higher kind of luxury. But think about joy. कैन इट बी अ बेट? क्या हमें खुश रहना अच्छा नहीं लगता? डोंट वी ऑल वांट टू बी हैप्पी एट द एंड ऑफ द डे? हाँ, हम चाहते हैं. सो जॉय कैन नॉट बी अ बेट. तो वेल्थ को बेट कहना है चलो जस्टिफाइड, बट कॉलिंग जॉय अ बेट इज नॉट जस्टिफाइड एट ऑल. ये थोड़ा एक्सट्रीमिटी हो गई, राइट? एक्सट्रीम लेवल की फिलोसफी हो गई. सो ही सेज कि एवरीथिंग दैट इज पॉजिटिव, try to understand his philosophy, that everything that gives us joy, or that gives us comfort, everything that gives us joy and comfort, they all are what? Baits. तो ये तो गलत है, right? So it reflects bitterness and his own life experience, जो कि बहुत अच्छा नहीं है. Okay, चलो, let us move forward. Point number 3, the crofter's kindness. So understand कि crofter क्या है basically. Crofter is a person जिसको हम farmer कह सकते हैं in other terms, but this particular farmer works on a small rented farm. उसको हम crofter कहते हैं. तो crofter word से confuse होने की जरूरत नहीं है. A crofter is a person who is a farmer but is working on a small rented farm. तो उसका खुद का farm नहीं है, उसने rent पे ले रखा है, right? So what happens is this peddler मीट्स एन ओल्ड क्रॉफ्टर. जैसे कि मैंने बताया कि पेडलर जो था इधर उधर घूमता रहता था, देयर वाज नो परमानेंट हाउस दैट ही हैड. तो ही मीट्स एन ओल्ड क्रॉफ्टर, राइट? The crofter offers food, shares company and trusts him completely. This should be and, right? So what happens is कि जब ये क्रॉफ्टर से मिलता है तो क्रॉफ्टर इज अ वेरी काइंड पर्सन. दैट इज व्हाई द टाइटल क्रॉफ्टर्स काइंडनेस. ही इज अ वेरी काइंड पर्सन because he offers everything. He was very frank with him, he was very friendly with him, generous, compassionate, kind. So he he was very kind person. The crofter offers food, shares company. So he offers him food, he offers him company for the night, right? And he trusts him completely. He also showcases trust on the rat trap seller, which is something new to him. जैसा कि मैंने बताया कि he had been treated really badly by all the other people that he had met earlier, but यहाँ पे क्रॉफ्टर जो है, he is giving him a very positive treatment. He is giving him a very nice treatment. Okay. He even shares with him 30 kroner. As I said, ये स्वीडन की सेटिंग है, right? The story is set in Sweden. तो वहां पे क्रोनर चलती है करेंसी. ओके. सो व्हाट हैपेंस इज कि दिस क्रॉफ्टर बिकम्स सो काइंड विद ऑल हिज जेनरोसिटी. वो क्या करता है, वो उसको पैसे भी दिखा देता है कि आई हैव अर्न दिस मनी 30 क्रोनर्स. और वो उसको वो बैग जहाँ पे उसने वो रखा हुआ है मनी का, वो भी उसको दिखा देता है. सो ही वॉज सो जेनरस एंड काइंड एंड सो ट्रस्टिंग कि वो उस पर ट्रस्ट कर लेता है एंड वो उसको मनी भी दिखा देता है. The theft and the turning point of the story. So what happens is that this peddler gets to know कि 30 kroners कहाँ पे रखे हैं, right? In the morning, what he does is the temptation overpowers the peddler. Temptation, he takes the bait, right? He steals the crofter's money, he runs into the forest, fear makes him lose his way. So he gives away to temptation. वो क्या करता है, उठा के वो पैसे चुरा लेता है. And after stealing this money, he escapes into the forest. Of course, he cannot remain in the house, so he escapes into the forest. But when he goes into the forest, he realizes a lot of things. पहली चीज वो realize करता है that he cannot take the highway. क्यों? क्योंकि अगर वो हाईवे लेगा, there was a high probability that he might be caught by the police, right? क्योंकि क्रॉफ्टर ने अपना 30 क्रोनर्स मिसिंग होने पे रिपोर्ट तो लिखवाई होगी, कुछ तो किया होगा पुलिस को इन्फॉर्म. So he realizes that he cannot take the highway or the main route. So he has to remain inside the forest. When he was inside the forest, the fear makes him lose his way. He gets completely lost in the forest. He could not determine कि वो कहाँ जा रहा है and क्या रास्ता है, and he completely gets trapped inside the forest. Now the psychological part of the chapter begins. Why? Because now he starts to feel that the forest is actually a rat trap. Earlier, he had been thinking that all the luxuries, all the wealth, all the joy, happiness that exists in the world, they are like baits. And people are foolish because they take these baits and they remain caged inside the rat traps. But अब उसने क्या किया, उसने भी तो एक bait ही लिया है. So now the psychological thing starts. Why? Because he starts thinking that the forest itself is actually a rat trap and he has been caught inside that rat trap because he stole that money. The forest traps him, he realizes he has walked into the rat trap. The stolen money becomes a burden, he feels guilt and fear. So after taking the money, he realizes that he has done wrong and he feels really guilty and he feels really fearful because he might be caught by the police, right? So all these things he are there in his mind. So after wandering inside the forest for a long time, he is able to find this iron mill. तो वो एक उसको एक iron mill मिलती है जहाँ पे कि iron का purification हो रहा होता है and he decides to spend the night there and he requests the workers to allow him to spend the night there because it was a chilly winter night, right? So what happens here is that he meets this iron master जो mill का owner है. The peddler meets Iron Master. Iron Master mistakes him for an old army friend Captain wants to help. The peddler doesn't try to reveal his true identity in the hope of getting some money. Now, what happens here is that after getting the shelter in Iron Mill, he was sleeping. Suddenly, the Iron Master shows up, and Iron Master, when he picks up his hat that was covering his face, जब वो उसके hat को उठाता है, the Iron Master mistakes him for an old army friend. क्या लगता है Iron Master को कि actually this person is an old army friend and he thinks that his friend is facing a very poor condition, right? And who is that friend? Captain Von Stahel. The peddler doesn't try to reveal his true identity in the hope of getting some money. Now again, he takes up the temptation. He takes up the bait. He thinks that if this Iron Master, who is a very wealthy person, is thinking him to be his friend, let him think like that. कि हाँ मैं friend हूँ, because he thought कि इतनी poor condition देख के the Iron Master might offer some money to him, right? But this doesn't happen. But he is scared of being exposed. He refuses to go home initially. Now it was the Christmas time, so Iron Master invites him to his home and he says कि Christmas celebration के लिए you can stay with us, you can have that Christmas dinner and enjoy with us, but he refuses to go to his home. Of course he has this fear that he is going to be discovered, he is going to be exposed, the real identity will be exposed. Now understand here, it is again an ultra pro tip that the iron master mistakes him for an old friend, तभी उसने invite किया for the Christmas dinner. Then only he invited him for the Christmas dinner. Otherwise, he would not invite a peddler for Christmas dinner. This is what you need to understand here. कि this Iron Master, the character of Iron Master is very practical. So he sees that there is this person who is an old friend, and that is why he invites him for the Christmas dinner. Edla Wilmanson, agent of change. Now, finally, we are introduced to the daughter. So, remember, I told you that the peddler was invited for Christmas dinner to the Iron Master's house. So, Iron Master को तो उसने मना कर दिया. But Iron Master had a different plan. What does he do? He sends his daughter. वो अपनी बेटी को भेज देता है इनविटेशन के लिए, बिकॉज ही न्यू कि वो डॉटर जो है वो पक्का लेके ही आएगी उसको, राइट? सो ही सेंड्स एडला विलमैनसन द डॉटर. Etla, the Iron Master's daughter, treats him kindly, speaks gently, respects his dignity. Now, this is very important. Ultra pro tip that this kind of question can appear in the examination. The difference between, comparison between the character of the Iron Master and his daughter. क्योंकि daughter तो जानती नहीं है उसको, and in the first look she realizes कि this person cannot be an army person. He is not the person that her father is thinking him to be. कि वो friend नहीं है father का. This she realizes on the very first look. But still, she speaks really gently, treats him very kindly, and respects his dignity. And this, due to all of this, he was not able to refuse. He had to go. She invites him home for Christmas. Her kindness is unconditional. So, comparison between Edla Wilmanson and the Iron Master is a question that you can expect. और यहाँ पे ये लिखना आपको बहुत जरूरी है that her kindness is unconditional. हालांकि आयरन मास्टर की जो काइंडनेस थी that was because of an acquaintance कि वो मेरा फ्रेंड है तभी मैंने बुलाया है. But here Edla Wilmanson realizes कि ये गलत इंसान है. He cannot be a friend of her father, and yet she treats him with a lot of kindness, and her kindness becomes unconditional in that sense कि किसी भी एक प्रैक्टिकल चीज पे डिपेंडेंट नहीं है या किसी फैक्ट पे डिपेंडेंट नहीं है, राइट? चलो लेट अस मूव फॉरवर्ड. चैप्टर ऑलमोस्ट हमारा खत्म होने वाला है, राइट? हम लोगों ने पूरी स्टोरी ट्रैक कर ली है. लेट अस नाउ ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड द एंड पार्ट ऑफ द स्टोरी. नाउ फाइनली द ट्रूथ इज रिवील्ड. क्योंकि पहले तो रात हो रही थी, इट वॉज द नाइट टाइम, द father mistook the peddler for his friend, but now at home the truth is exposed. The Iron Master is angry, he wants the peddler out. Edla intervenes and protects him. So as I said कि Edla Wilmanson turns out to be a character who is very unlike her father. क्योंकि फादर को तो जैसे ही पता चलता है कि ही इज नॉट माई फ्रेंड दैट आई वॉज थिंकिंग हिम टू बी, वो क्या चाहता है कि अभी मैं इसको बाहर कर दूं, राइट? आई डोंट वांट हिम इन द हाउस एंड ही शुड बी गॉन. बट एडला intervenes and she says कि I want this peddler to have Christmas dinner with us क्योंकि हमने उसको वो promise किया है. So we need to keep up our promise. We need to keep up our promise, and that is why she says कि नहीं, let him stay here. Let him stay here and celebrate Christmas with us. The ultimate transformation. This is what the chapter is all about, that how kindness can transform even a criminal, right? The ultimate transformation. Edla's kindness awakens conscience. The peddler leaves stolen money, the rat trap, and a letter of gratitude. So what happens is they all have this Christmas dinner, and the next morning, Edla and her father, they both go to the church, right? And when they go to the church, they get to know about the 30 kroner that were stolen from the crofter's house. So after hearing that story of 30 kroner that were stolen from the crofter's house, वो फटाफट घर जाते हैं, right? Because they thought कि this particular peddler might also rob them of their things. He might also steal a few things from their house. तो इसलिए फटाफट घर पहुंचते हैं. But when they reach home, they they get to know that the peddler has already left, but he left a few things. और वो क्या क्या चीजें थी? The stolen money, the stolen 30 kroner amount, then a rat trap and a letter of gratitude. So he leaves three things. पहली बात क्या, वो क्या छोड़ के जाता है? The stolen money, that he did not want that stolen money. तो वो 30 kroner जो उसने चुराए होते हैं वो छोड़ जाता है. Secondly, he leaves a rat trap, and thirdly he leaves a letter addressed to Edla Wilmanson, right? So rat trap, because he wanted it to be a symbol. So a rat trap and a letter of gratitude. Gratitude means thankfulness. So he expressed his thankfulness towards Edla Wilmanson, and he signs the letter as Captain Von Stahel. Now here he signs the letter or he writes his name as Captain Von Stahel. यहीं पे बच्चे कंफ्यूज हो जाते हैं कि वो क्या वाकई में वो फ्रेंड था. नहीं, वो फ्रेंड नहीं था. He writes or he signs his name as Captain Von Stahel because he realizes that Edla Wilmanson treated him really kindly and with a lot of compassion, just like she would treat an army person, a captain. So he just tries to keep up with the expectation of Edla Wilmanson कि जैसा उसको वहां पे ट्रीटमेंट मिला है वैसा ही I will be making myself. I will not take any bait. I will not be caught inside any rat trap. So what is the ultimate message of the story? Again, an ultra pro tip for all of you. The message of the story can come as it is, that how was the transformation possible, or what made the peddler change his heart. So all these questions can come. Kindness has the power to change hearts and reform criminals. This is the major moral of the story, that kindness has the power to change hearts and reform criminals. That if you want to change or bring about a transformation inside the heart of a criminal, it is through kindness that you should approach him or her. Trust and compassion creates a moral rebirth. We have seen that the trust and the compassion that Edla Wilmanson shows to the peddler, that makes him a morally good character, right? Or you can say that creates space for his moral rebirth. Okay. This brings us to the end of the session, where we tried to learn the summary along with the mind map and some ultra pro tips for the chapter The Rat Trap. If you were able to cover and understand the chapter in 15 minutes, there is nothing better. Stay tuned for the next session of Dhurandhar series. If you liked the video, like it, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends so that they can benefit out of it, and subscribe to my channel Fit the Lit, where we fit literature to its rightful standard.